My name's Teresa. I've certainly seen you at town halls before. I'm very interested in what you're doing, and I'm also very interested in what is not happening. And that is, HR 15, the bipartisan immigration bill that passed the Senate more than 5 months ago. And when you come here to talk about economic development and to try to address the issues of folks in the mining industry or folks in manufacturing, I can't help but realize that you're really missing one of the biggest economic opportunities of our time right now, and that is comprehensive immigration reform. The fact is that we continue to lose money. This district, this state, continues to lose jobs and money. We know that immigrants are twice as likely as folks born here to be entrepreneurs and to move the economy forward like only small business people can. And so we really need for you to see immigration reform as the opportunity that it is, not just to do the right thing by people who this district is dependent on in terms of labor and dependent on in terms of the vast cultural elements that people bring to this district, but also that you would see that there is tremendous opportunity for you as a legislator and a political leader to look at the economic factors. And we hear you talk about guest worker programs and red cards and orange cards, but what we must have is immigration reform that includes a path to citizenship. That has to be a non-negotiable, because if you're not doing that, you're creating a permanent underclass that will be a drain on the economy. And so it's so important for you as a political leader to understand the economic opportunity that is before you now in passing comprehensive immigration reform.
You mentioned HR 15 passes. I don't believe that's gone through the Senate.
It did.
HR 15?
I believe.
It didn't clear the House.
No, it hasn't. It's been stalled in the House for over 5 months. And in
So
that time,
also you're talking about the Senate bill.
yes. And so the issue is that, people have been waiting and we've been losing opportunity as a result of that inaction. And the issue is that it needs to move forward. And we just need you to see the opportunity that there is for this district and for this state in moving forward comprehensive immigration reform. I mean, that REMI report alone is really critical. I know that your office is aware of that REMI report that came out, because while we've been waiting, there's a lot of work that's been being done, and some of that work has been to look at the loss that inaction is causing.
Well, first of all, I really appreciate, as you know, we've had a lot of town hall meetings together, a lot of direct meetings, actually, to be able together. And I think it's very important, actually, to be able to take back your concerns and other concerns that we hear in terms of formulating good, thoughtful legislation to be able to go through. Here's probably the challenge. Let me give you one example on the Senate bill that I haven't really heard discussed. Under the Senate legislation, they have a RPI, registered immigration, personal immigration, to where people can be registered to be able to work. Under the law, they are not going to be covered by the Affordable Care Act. So are we going to be incentivizing businesses to hire people that have been registered and allowed to work here with no health insurance? They're going to be excluded. That is an example, I think, out of the Senate bill, to where if we rush just to pass the bill, to say we've done something, even if the heart's in the right place, and I'm not disputing the heart, we need to be thoughtful about this in terms of having a product that will come through that is going to be able to benefit the United States, to be able to address what I think we all agree on, and which I think you can probably speak to, because I've spoken to them at every one of these town hall meetings. We do need to fix a broken immigration system in this country. When I've talked to farmers, ranchers, hospitality industry, when I visited with construction trades that are out there, they have a real frustration, if you're familiar with H-2A, H-2B, a broken system. It isn't supply and demand. We may need 200,000 workers, and under H-2A, we're only going to let in 100,000, just pulling up numbers. Shouldn't that be something that is actually going to be supply and demand oriented in terms of an actual workforce? That'd be sensible. Shouldn't we have a tool that's going to be in the hands when I look at the Senate bill and under E-Verify? And believe me, if E-Verify comes before the House, I'll vote for it. But I think we can do it better.
And if
That
a
was
bill
the
with a
purpose
path
of
to
being able
citizenship
take-
comes before the House, will you vote for that?
We have to, first of all, determine who wants to be a citizen. I think it's always worthwhile to be able to look at history. If we go back to 1986, when Ronald Reagan was president, and they granted amnesty, and we're going to fix the border. They never fixed the border. They never treated that end of it. The promise was there, but it never happened.
Actually,
In
very few
1986,
people are getting through the border now.
This comes actually out of some of the comments that I've received at some of our town hall meetings that you've gone to. I'd originally heard it was 52% of the people chose not to become American citizens. Someone gave me a statistic, and I'll just accept it. I haven't verified it, but I'll accept it. That 47% of the folks chose not to be American citizens. They were proud Guatemalans. I can point to a fellow I know in Glenwood Springs who's a proud Irishman.
But sir, we
He
want to
wants
know how
work
you'll
here.
vote.
He doesn't want to be an American.
How will you vote?
And so we have not gotten there because we don't know.
But would
how many
you
people are
co-sponsor
going
or
to be
support a
there.
bill that included a path to citizenship? Because
Well,
everything that we've heard that you've worked on and that you're willing to take a look at hasn't included that really critical and vital piece. And it's about recognizing that while all of this other legislation is really important, if you're chasing economic development in ways that you're ignoring the possibility that exists through passing immigration reform, that should make it the priority.
More, we need to have a thoughtful discussion on this. There's one voice that's not being heard here tonight. It's one voice that has not attended one town hall meeting. And it's 4.4 million people who have filed to come into the country legally. There's no voice for them. And so when I'm saying we need to be thoughtful, because I know you'd like to be able to say, get a specific answer on that, we haven't discussed how do we treat them, that side of the equation. We haven't discussed all of the various circumstances that can exist.
And I guess what I'm wanting to hear and understand from you is that you understand the economic opportunity that's being lost for this district and for this state by continuing to delay action on immigration reform.
No, actually, I think I have spoken to it and shared that with you. I've called for immigration reform. I've spoken to a viable guest worker program, verifiable guest worker program, that's going to be good for the employees, good for the employers, because of the work needs that are out there. And I think, and this is something that I really hope, goes back actually to our first question here tonight. If you dare have an idea, and it maybe doesn't align perfectly with somebody else, I hope we aren't going to demonize that. If we're going to have constructive dialogue, that you call for, I think we need to have that open and honest discussion. The commitment that I have made, that I haven't heard a lot of people make, and we haven't seen this done in the last 30 plus years in the United States, is for Congress, for the first time, to really fix it. That's what we are trying to be dedicated to do. So,
And I'd like to comment, because
We're starting to
it
get
was
kind of tight on time.
the unions, and the business community that came together to talk about initially the immigration reform. And they saw it as an economic opportunity.
and I haven't disputed that. I've spoken specifically to, if you can't get the crops out of the field, that's obviously got a negative economic impact.
We're about it then. I'm going to do one more question. Hopefully it's a quick one, and then we'll wrap it up.